to be Master of Ceremonies for this event. And in representing the Prescott Chamber of Commerce, I want to share with you how we as a business community come together like you as a community in such events. It is the mission of the Prescott Chamber of Commerce to provide leadership and resource to create a vibrant business economy for Prescott. And so we are here today gathered like you in celebration of this community and this event. On behalf of the Prescott Chamber of Commerce and the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning Tribute Center, I thank you for joining us as we celebrate this public opening all of the already renowned center. Thank you for being with us. As you can appreciate and well imagine, we have a number of dignitaries with us today. And if you'll bear with me, I'm going to ask that you help me in welcoming, and please hold your applause until we get to the end of the long list. Representing Congressman Paul Gosar's office, we have with us Jeff Tim. Yavapai County Board of Supervisors, our supervisor, Randy Garrison. City of Prescott, our Mayor, Greg Mingarelli. Prescott Council, Mayor Pro Tem, Billy Orr. Council members, Alexis Scholl and Phil Good. Prescott City Manager, Michael Lamar. The Prescott, with us here, other dignitaries from local and state agencies. The Prescott National Forest Fuels, Fire, Aviation Staff Officer, Peter Gordon. We'd like to recognize Arizona State Forester, Director of Arizona State Forestry Division, Jeff Whitney. Arizona State Parks, Executive Director, Sue Black. Prescott Fire Department, our Chief, Dennis Light. We have with us other agencies, Fire Chief Darrell Williams, Michael Orr, President of PAWUIC, Bob Betts, former President, PAWUIC, Chief Scott Freitag of Central Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. We have Mayor Pro Tem, Fire Chief Department, Tom Haney, Mayor Fire Chief Department, Marty Grossman, Prescott Valley City Council, Roger Nussbaum, Fire Chief from Walker, and Justice of the Peace Glenn Savande, Chief of Police, City of Prescott, Deborah Black. I'd like to also recognize any other agency hotshot crews in attendance. If you could please raise your hands. And any other Yavapai Firefighter Association members. Thank you so much for your attendance with us today and helping us in this recognition of this event. The agency representation, the community representation is tremendous as we see all that are gathered. I'd like to also recognize attending Prescott Chamber of Commerce staff and leadership. Our awesome ambassadors, these are fellow business members who help promote our business community. If you can please give a raise of hands. Thank you so much for all you do and being here today. Under great leadership, this Chamber of Commerce is ever stronger. Our Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Sherry Heine. In assistance in helping make this event as successful as it will be, Office and Events Manager Laura Warnay, our Communications and Membership Relations Bob Culbertson, our Visitor Information Center Manager Robert Coombs, and our Administrative Assistant Mashila Moore. Thank you for that diligence and patience in helping me recognize all that are here and making a part of this event. And now I'd like to share with you my thoughts about this event as we further welcome our dignitaries for their recognition Today we are gathered in a quiet celebration. With reverence, we remember the sacrifice and the loss of Prescott's 19 Granite Mountain Hotshots. As we approach the 5-year anniversary of their passing, we continue to honor their service, and today we celebrate their legacy. For today, as a community, we have realized the culmination of countless efforts to open this center. One which will tell the story of Prescott's 19, teach about wildland fire and firefighting, and raise our consciousness about fire prevention. The mission of this Learning and Tribute Center is indeed dedicated to the legacy of the 19. And through the education efforts of volunteers and organizers, they will seek to help prevent future firefighting tragedies. I want to call attention to the featured shirts off their back. This is from an organic tribute that arose in honor to those who gave all. Over 500 t-shirts from agencies from around the country, originally left on the Hotshots Station Number 7 fence. Now they are literally the backdrop of this center, and they represent the nation's tribute to our fallen 19. As a community, we are gratified to finally have a place to bring forward the thousands of artifacts which are each a tribute to the Granite Mountain Hotshots. To the Hotshot celebrates with you the opening of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center. We applaud you for your vision and your tireless efforts to have achieved on behalf of our community this fitting tribute, a center of education and remembrance. Thank you. Again, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, and I'd like to welcome our dignitaries as they provide their recognition for this event. Speaking first, representative of Congressman Paul Gosar's office, Jeff Tim.
All right, everyone, quick apologies about the audio issues we had there. Got a little loud for a second.
This memorial, this tribute center, an education center, so that this never happens to another community again. That's, I think, the purpose behind this. And on behalf of Congressman Paul Gosar, John, I give you this certificate of appreciation awarded to the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center in honor of the 19 courageous men who lost their lives fighting the Arnell Hill fire. Thank you for creating this center. Thank you for your leadership in it. Thank you for the sacrifice that you personally have in it. And on behalf of the Congressman, just thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay with us. And next, Yavapai County Board of Supervisors, our Supervisor, Randy Garrison.
Good morning, everyone. Supervisor Jack Smith was supposed to be here today to do this, and he got called out of state for a family emergency. So I today have the honor of welcoming you to this Learning and Tribute Center, and I'm very proud to be able to do this. I want to talk about, say a few words about public service and the lessons I've learned through the years. I've spent my entire adult life being what I consider a public servant. I spent 26 years operating a medium-sized water company, and because I controlled the flow of water, I was invaluable to our firefighters. I've always felt our firefighters and law enforcement officers are the heroes that walk among us, and I thoroughly enjoyed being able to participate with them. And I became a first responder before that was even really a thing, because I would have to beat the fire department to the scene of a fire so I could help them make sure they had the tools and resources they needed to do their job. So one of the lessons and values they taught me was dedication. It takes a strong person to run into a problem when most people are running away, and I got to see that firsthand. It was a life. It was part of their being. It was what they were. It wasn't just their job. It was a duty they took very seriously. The next was the responsibility that comes with being a public servant and being a person that goes out and does these jobs in your community that most people wouldn't do. It's a very heavy burden, and it takes that special type of person to not only do their job, but take the extra steps that come along with realizing and living up to that responsibility. And finally, the last thing I learned is commitment. Like I said, I've spent the bulk of my adult life being a public servant, but I never once woke up in the morning wondering if I was going to come home at night, if I was going to get to see my family and friends, if I was going to make it to tomorrow. Never once had to think about that. And yet we're standing among so many right now that think that every day when they get up. So I hope you'll join me in thanking those around us for their dedication and for shouldering that responsibility that they hold so dear. And I know you'll join me in honoring our fallen and the commitment, the ultimate sacrifice that they've made to service their friends, their family, and their community. Can I get a little love for those heroes among us, past and present? Thank you.
Randy, thank you, and thank you for your applause. Prescott National Forest, our Fuels, Fire, and Aviation Staff Officer, Peter Gordon.
Well, I know there's a few of you out there that know me, and I got to tell you, I'm a little nervous, and that probably surprises you. It's a bigger crowd than I thought. So you heard my long bureaucratic title, but really I'm the fire chief for the Prescott National Forest, and I must say I am truly and sincerely honored and humbled to have been asked to speak a few words. I'm also a little nervous that I thought I was doing well at keeping it 5 to 6 minutes, so now I'm under pressure to go faster. So. Definitely humbled to be up here, and I gotta say, honestly, my first thought when asked a few days ago, I thought maybe I should respectfully decline, but then I got to thinking and considering how I knew the Granite Mountain Hotshots, how I knew the crew, how my firefighters on the Prescott National Forest knew the crew, how we worked together, what those relationships were like both professionally and personally, and how we cherish those relationships. As an old busted hotshot myself, I've decided I will cherish the opportunity to share a few words with you. Again, for those of you that know me, I usually, sometimes when it comes to speaking from the heart or being passionate about something, I can wing it with anybody. And so my plan was to get up here and wing it this morning, but this morning when I came into the office, I thought, best not to wing it. Let me think about this a little bit. So I decided to do a little prep work. I thought to choose to speak about the title of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center. And first I'd like to speak to the learning. The men of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew, those that have fallen and those alum who were on the crew before them, they had a thirst for knowledge, they had a passion for learning, and many of them mastered the art of teaching. Today we look to the future as this tribute center embarks on a learning legacy and an opportunity to foster education into the future. That was something that was well established in that crew. I think you all should be proud. Those of you on the board, the community members, you should all be proud of where you're about to go with this, because I know they are. Let me address tribute. I think as we think about the word tribute, obviously that means to honor somebody or a group of folks or honor an event. But what's been ringing through my head the last week or so is it's about getting to know somebody. And so I put some thought into that about how I knew the Granite Mountain Hotshots, how my firefighters knew the Granite Mountain Hotshots. Some of the Granite Mountain Hotshots, some of the alum were Prescott National Forest firefighters. They were Prescott Hotshots, and this we're really proud of. I knew them as a colleague, I knew them as a friend, I knew them as a partner to the Prescott Fire Department. I knew them as students and instructors at the Arizona Wildfire Academy for as long as that crew has been in existence. They were friends to, or friends of, they were respected colleagues of, and some of them were former crew members of our Prescott National Forest Hotshot crew. They were the crosstown rivals, and I say that with a smile because it was a healthy rivalry. Just about every summer there was somewhat of a little unsaid contest about who'd have the most hours at the end of the summer, who could get on the most fires for the summer. We're blessed that those two crews got to work together a lot out across the country, right here in our own backyard, and sometimes there was a healthy rivalry to see who could get the most done in the quickest amount of time. We're proud of that too. I knew them well before we lost them, and for this I'm very thankful. However, I didn't get to know them as well as I'd hoped to, and for this I'm pretty sorry. I've come to know some of you family members in the last 5 years. I'm also very thankful for that. I spent about an hour and a half here last night, and even though I visited this fence at Station 7 numerous times, even though I was part of removing the items 5 years ago on that fence, I learned a tremendous amount of new things and saw some new things last night. And for that, I'm thankful. The Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center behind us is going to provide the opportunity for so many more people to get to know those men and know that crew, and for that I'm thankful. I've come to understand a couple of things that go right together in the last few years, and that is to know the men is to know the crew, and to know the crew is to know those men. I want to read just a few verses from a song written by Johnny Cash. I thought about scripture, but I opted for Johnny Cash today. As I read just a few verses of a song called It Takes One to Know Me, I want you to imagine a dialogue between a stubborn old wildland firefighter and a loved one. As I read these verses, I also want you to imagine a dialogue between a fallen hotshot and God. So this is some verses from It Takes One to Know Me by Johnny Cash. Forgive me, now I got to really read. We've lived out all the stories, sang all the old songs. It takes one to know me, I guess you're the one. It's true that I used to be crazy and harder to love than most men. And the blood that ran in these tired hands was harder and wilder back then. I don't feel as tall as I used to. Maybe it's just that I've grown. You're the one that I held my hand when I fell, even if I just couldn't make it alone. We've lived out all the stories, sang all the old songs. It takes one to know me. I guess you're the one. If the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center makes just 1/10 of the impact in the future that the Granite Mountain Hotshots and those men did in the past, that will be an accomplishment of tremendous nature. That will be success. That will be healing. I wish you all the best. Moving forward with the Granite Mountain Learning and Tribute Center. Thanks.
Peter, thank you for your words and your thoughts. In partnership with the Learning Center, Learning and Tribute Center, We have great support from this community, specifically the City of Prescott. I'd like to introduce to you now, City of Prescott, our Mayor, Greg Mangarelli.
Thank you, Leland. On behalf of the city, I am deeply grateful and honored to be here today to speak to you. I just want to say that John, the board, Chief Light, Katie, Dennis, on behalf of all the volunteers, they've done a tremendous job here in a short amount of time. This was really started later in 2017, and to be here today to see this come to fruition is an amazing work in and of itself from some dedicated people in our community led by John Marsh. So thank you, John, and the board for all your work. My oldest son was a wildland firefighter for Green Creek Fire, and one day he wanted to be a Granite Mountain hotshot. And that's what I love about these men, is they emulated everything good in our community. They stood for everything good and right that we would want to be like someday, much like my oldest son. They were the hardest working, most courageous, bravest men. And I am so proud to know that my son looked up to them and wanted to be them one day. Not only that, they had a lot of fun. These guys knew how to get along and give each other a hard time, and they were family. And again, great attributes that we see in these men. What I like about the Learning and Tribute Center is that the learning aspect of educating the community, not just about who these men were, but also wildland firefighters in general, and what we can do to make sure that we don't see this happen again, that we protect ourselves, the FireWise component, and what we as citizens can do. I really appreciate that, John, you and the team made that a real priority. These men were selfless, and they would have wanted that message to go out. And so I know that they are deeply grateful for the work that you've done to make sure that we continue to educate our community about FireWise practice. On behalf of the city, if you hear nothing else that I say today, this city is deeply grateful and proud of our Granite Mountain Hotshots. On behalf of the city, John, I'd like to give you this certificate of recognition for the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center Board in recognition of the opening of the GMIHC Learning and Tribute Center. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The Prescott Chamber of Commerce would like to provide its recognition, and here to represent our board member, Stephen Weisenhut.
When I was asked to do this, I told Sherry that I felt really humbled and almost unworthy after following some of these talks that have gone on. My family's been in the area for 5 generations, and on that day, none of us were more than 2 degrees of separation from somebody that was lost. So, John, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and its board members, I'd like to present to you this certificate of special recognition that is presented to the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Tribute and Learning Center. Thank you for all you've done.
In furtherance of recognition, we have other state agencies and our local departments. I'd like to welcome Arizona State Parks Executive Director, Sue Black.
Here we are 5 years later. Yeah, thanks. Here we are 5 years later, and when we dedicated the state park, the one thing that they wrote this long speech for me and what have you, and it's not really how it works. You want to speak from the heart, but this one goes really deep in your heart, you know. And the only thing I got up there is I said that I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this ever happened, you know. And to have the learning center that we can learn how to prevent this. You know, we're coming up on the 4th of July weekend, and I think with what most of the people in here do for a living, we've got to learn and hope that this never happens again. You know, we dedicated the first Arizona Memorial State Park, and it's got to be the last, right? So 5 years later, we have the learning center, we have the state park. People are going to know about these guys for decades to come. You know, we were talking about it this morning about how quickly this happened, how quickly the state park was dedicated, and I think we have done that to keep their legacy alive. At least I hope the family members and all the loved ones know that we did it, and this has all been a labor of love, right? So one of the things I want to share with you is that I think there's going to be a synergy between the state park and this, you know, especially with the artifacts. So if you notice that we've got our presentation of the state park over there, they called and said, for the people that can't actually hike it or make it out there, could you put together a display that would really capture it? And my state park ranger right here, Ken Sliwa, he's with the camera right there, other such duties. He actually put this together. So could we just give him a round of applause for that? There's some of the challenge coins are in there, and I'd encourage you to take a look at those. And there's one that's a Congressional Medal of Honor from a person that we don't know who it is, but from North Korea. From the Korean War, I'm sorry. And one of the things that we're going to try to do is continually change out what mementos that people have left at the park and put them here. So I think it'll be a somewhat ever-changing display. And one of the other things that we have on our website is with every memento, we're taking a picture of it, and it's in development now. We have a world map. So if somebody from France drops something off, we take a picture of it, you can click on that, and up will come the artifact. And we're going to try to dovetail the two of those together. And just the world recognition of everyone paying their respects, it's huge. It really is. Having said that, I don't know if you all know about, they call him Fireman Joe. He's running from California to the park tomorrow morning, and so we made him a little sign that we're going to present to him tomorrow when he hikes the trail. And he's doing this in full gear, all that weight on him. So we've got some Sharpies here. So if anybody would like to write him a little note on this, I think it'd be fun when we present it to him, that we appreciate him paying tribute on the 5th anniversary by running cross country like that. It's an incredible feat and labor of love for that as well. But to end this, you know, you look at what's going on in the world today and the whole Be Better and Esse Quam Videre and all of it. It's amazing what can get done when people work together. So thank you.
Sue, thank you. And I would echo her words and encourage everyone to respond and sign this thank you to the great tribute that Fireman Joe is providing our community. I'd like to recognize and have with us speak a leading member in helping organize this Learning and Tribute Center, our Prescott Fire Department Chief, Chief Dennis Light.
Well, John, I know you've been here standing up for a bit, but could you join me back up here first, please? We better raise this back up. Well, first and foremost, this is an important deal. This is a gem in the Prescott community. The board, and if I could have the board members please stand up and be acknowledged, please. Thank you. You know, they pulled this together in lightning speed. From concept to today's ribbon cutting was really over the course of about 7 months. Which, you think about that, that's pretty amazing in and by itself. So to them and the folks, I greatly thank you. A couple other things that I felt are important. I'm extremely pleased with the meaningfulness of the displays and the dual role to both acknowledge the threat of wildfire to the Prescott community while offering tribute and honor to the fallen. As I kind of alluded to, the center will become a gem in the Prescott community, and it shows outright how a public entity, such as the City of Prescott, can work together and alongside the development and creation of a non-for-profit in the form of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center to make a community-wide difference. At this time, I'd like to mention a few folks that went really above and beyond when it came to bringing this center into fruition. For those that aren't aware, this was a community-driven idea. A couple of active community members, Nancy Christie and Diane Clevenger specifically, who are also on the board, came to former Councilwoman Wilcox, and we met last April. With that, myself, the city manager, Councilwoman Wilcox, and these folks just wanted to do something. And giving me about 60 days to think about it, we kicked this thing off in August of last year. We had a stakeholders meeting. It took, we had about 40 to 50 community stakeholders, affiliates, law enforcement, fire, and all sorts of types come to the table and offer their perspectives. So for those folks directly involved, I appreciate it. Family members, specifically, you know, I can't do enough to offer my thoughts and honor of the loss of your loved ones. I think good comes out of bad, and I really believe the learning piece of this will become good. Those in law enforcement and fire, Local 3066 of the Prescott Fire, or the Professional Firefighters of Arizona, city leadership, community members, and equally important, the men and women of the Prescott Fire Department. Thank you for all you have done to bring this into fruition. Finally, Mike Cohen. Mike isn't here with us today, but he works and is the owner agent for Cohen Retail, which owns the mall. When in the retail business, you know, you're out to make a sizable profit. He's turned this property over for the center to operate it on behalf of the City of Prescott. And without this property, this thing would have been a lot longer in the stages coming forward. So thank you, Michael. And finally, Kayla Seisinger, who is the property manager with the mall proper. She's worked diligently to allow us to do a lot of good stuff here. She might have bent the rules a little bit for the other folks around. Don't tell the anchor stores that. But with that, I think this is a remarkable center. John and board members, thank you. Coin.
Chief Life, thank you, and our extended thanks to all that were mentioned. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the podium, here to speak on behalf of the Granite Mountain Interagency Hotshot Crew Learning and Tribute Center, Board of Director Leader John Marsh.
We have two very simple words in our English language, thank you. Sometimes those words seem kind of inadequate to explain ourselves. How do you say thank you to the thousands of people who visited and left mementos on the memorial wall at Station 7? How do you say thank you to the many dozens of people who carefully removed, preserved, and stored those items so that they could be on display today? How do you say thank you to the chief, the mayor, the city council, the chamber, many private citizens, commercial businesses, state and federal agencies for what they have done to bring this day here? How do you say thank you to the wildest, craziest board that you've ever seen, who not only have donated hundreds of hours of their time along with a few other volunteers to present what you see? They not only have done that, but they have bought items for the center, and they opened their pocketbooks and enabled us to open a bank account so we could pay expenses. And this group have already been recognized. Wave your hand again. They do all the work, they just let me hang around. On behalf of the board, I'd like to offer our most sincere and heartfelt thanks to all the many people across our state, our nation, and the world that have shown and supported us in our effort. Thank you all for being here.
Lastly, we were expecting a dignitary representative. Has Jeff Whitney joined us? Yeah. Jeff? Tremendous. Thank you. We were hoping for your recognition. Arizona State Forester, Director of Arizona State Forestry Division, Jeff Whitney.
John, Mary, all of the other family members, mayor, supervisor, and everybody that worked on this. You know, this really is the tribute that I think the crew would want. I knew a lot of the crewmen. I came to know the balance of the crew that were fairly new through their families over the last 3.5 years. I'm not going to say much because I don't want to take a thing away from everything that has been said so well. You got to know Hotshots to appreciate the picture, and if you look at the picture, you'll appreciate what it is to be a hotshot. They did it because they loved it. They did it for the camaraderie. They loved a life of service. They knew the risks. On behalf of Governor and all of the Wildland Fire Service in Arizona and across the country, literally around the world, thank you all. Mayor, I sense a new breath of fresh air in Prescott. God bless us all.
Jeff, thank you. We've come to a conclusion, but first I'd like to say that let's let this be a beginning. This is a tremendous beginning of a community that has come together in this way and has helped to create a lasting legacy. Let us today remember our fallen 19. We honor their service and we celebrate their legacy. Again, thank you to all who have been a part of this, and a special thank you to you gathering here with us today, our dignitaries, and you, the people of our community. Spread the word, share this joy, and be a contributing member going forward. I also want to thank and provide a special thanks to the Prescott Media Center and to Bob Shanks for helping cover this event on behalf of the Prescott Chamber of Commerce and our community. Thank you. In culmination of the ceremony, we're going to do a ribbon cutting, and that is going to focus primarily on the family that is the Learning and Tribute Center, Board of Directors, Chairman, all of your organizers, volunteers, our distinguished dignitaries, and then all others that can fill in and help make this photo quite memorable. Before that, I want to mention that you are all invited to partake in tour of the center today. Enjoy the refreshments that are offered, and we would ask that those that are in attendance representing the Hotshot families, we want to provide you with the tribute and the opportunity to tour the center first. Then the public is welcome to join. We're going to have a line form over here and going through this entrance, but you'll be asked to tour the center just a few people at a time so that you can best observe and everyone can best see all that is on display. While touring the exhibits, if you should have questions or want to share, please look for the docents or any members with a name tag. They will be happy to speak with you. And then lastly, please no food or drink in the center, but again, enjoy the refreshments. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you, this community, for helping make this all possible. Thank you.
All right, everyone, tomorrow marks 5 years since 19 Granite Mountain Hotshots were killed battling the Yarnell Hill fire. It's a day that a lot of Arizonans remember. Me in particular, I was working in news radio here in Phoenix, Arizona at the time, so I did have to cover that story extensively. Again, tomorrow marks 5 years since those 19 firefighters, the Granite Mountain Hotshots, were lost battling that fire. So a lot of tributes happening. You're having this ribbon cutting there at the Tribute and Learning Center in Prescott, Arizona. Our Danielle Miller is there with our photojournalist Dave Sturman, so she will have a story on it later today on Fox 10 Phoenix. And you can find it on fox10phoenix.com as well.